Hello everyone, my name is Camila and I hope you very well. So to start, let me share my screen. Okay. So for today I am going to talk about two important topics, okay? The first topic is a standards perspective on the formative and summative language assessment, and the second topic is validity and reliability. Okay, so let's start. During all the years that I have been studying, I have always taken tests, and this is because it allows me to monitor the progress of my knowledge and my learning. Okay, so in simple words, evaluation is definitely linked to the possibility of monitoring the progress made by the students. Let's continue with formative assessment. Okay, first, this type of assessment is a process used by the teachers and students during the instruction or during the course. Okay, this allows the teachers and the students to get feedback on how teaching and learning is going and then readjust and make changes as needed. Okay, as I already mentioned, it is a collaborative practice, okay? So that is involves teachers and students, like you can see in this imagine, okay? Let's continue with the principles, okay? We find in informative assessment may differ from the approach being considered whether the it is assessment for learning or assessment as learning, okay? Now let's look at a few. Okay, the first, use guidelines for the principle of assessment for learning. Okay, we have 3 points here. Okay, the first is provide the students with high quality feedback for self correction. The second is promote the motivation and self esteem of the students. And the last is allow the students to respond to feedback given. Okay, let's continue with this part. Evaluation as learning. This is the main at creating opportunities within the classroom. Here are some fundamental bases. Okay, and we have the same three. The first is promote debates and dialogues as opportunity for peer participation. The second is include the students in the decisions making process about the assessment, policy, and practice. The last or the third is allow the students to choose the subject, criteria, methods, and timing of assessment activities. So now with this part. Developing a formative assessment takes time and requires effort of the part of the teachers. Therefore, the most recommended techniques that cannot be stopped for being implemented during teaching are seating activities. This is the first technique, okay? So this implies giving students an opportunity to set their own objectives that they are aspired to achieve, makes learning much more rewarding. Okay, let's continue with the second technique, share learning objectives, okay? So here the teachers and the students agreed to the share what they expect from each other. So the students will focus more on the way forward. Let's continue with the last technical strategy is structure the lesson. Okay, so this is more practical. For example, in class, okay, the teacher gives the student a general description of the lesson, but mentioning the topic and establish and clarifies objectives. Okay, one quick thing that I want to mention is that there are two types of formative assessment. Okay, we have the formal assessment and informal assessment. Okay, let's continue with the last part of the formative assessment, this topic about the formative assessment. Okay, so applying this assessment has been gaining strength over time and in turn has a good impact on the students as the students value this as useful resource. Okay? Let's continue with summative assessment. Okay, when we talk about summative assessment, it can be useful for many people, such as the school, directors, or authorities. Okay, this is because this type of evaluation helps to monitor educational management at national or international level. Okay, let's continue with the principles of the summative assessment. Okay, you can see here. So they are related to main objectives. Okay, the first is determine the success to students at given time. Okay, the second objective is the establish eligibility for study programs. Okay, so well, the summative evaluation is governed by four principles. Okay, the first is practicality. The second is reliability. The third is validity. And the fourth is authenticity. Okay? The first, okay? A summative evaluation is said to be practical when it considers that the amount of resource involved it is development is adequate to make it accessible. Okay? The second principle is the evaluation must be consistent and reliable. The third, that is validity. For a summative assessment to be valid, it must comply with the inference made about the rest in the test results. And the last, authenticity. Okay, in this lies in the natural relationship between the tasks present in the test with those that can take into account the real world. Let's continue now. The techniques. Okay, these techniques you must do this type of evaluation. We have three. Okay, the first is product evaluations. Okay, in this focus on delivery of the final product. Okay, that is all. The second technique is performance the evaluation. Okay, in this case, it is done in a real setting where the students develop their understanding in a practical way. Let's continue with the third technique or strategy. Okay, in this is evaluation focus on the process. It focuses on the establishing a concrete stage at the steps used to achieve particular results, prioritizing the ingenuity of the students. Okay, and the last, to conclude with this topic, the topic 7, we are going to see the impact of this type of evaluation on students' learning. Okay, so this type of evaluation benefits students a lot because it increases confidence by allowing them to build their own learning environment and encouraging them to measure their progress through prioritize and objectives. Very well, we have finished the first topic. We continue in the topic A. Okay, so yeah. At the time that the teachers design instruments that are used to evaluate concern can arise from the moment of planning. For these cases, it is important to note that validity and reliability comprise two fundamental principles when developing assessment instruments. Okay, what do we say this? Well, we say this because validity has the objective of inducing the students to a broad perspective that depends on the different uses of effort and time invested in the course. Okay. On other hand, reliability in the evaluations, there must be consistency between the test applications so that they don't show a random score obtained after the test. Okay, based on what we are analyzing at this moment, we can see that It is very important. So I invite you to continue watching this video because we are going to analyze in detail each element of validity and reliability. Okay? So let's continue with the first, validity. Okay, as we have already said, validity refers to degree to which evidence supports that these interpretations are correct and that the way in which the interpretations are used is appropriate. Okay, something that we must bear in mind is that validity is not a property of the instrument, but rather the quality of the constructions. Let's continue with the content. Okay, content related evidence part. The evidence provided is said that fit the type of evidence related to content. If a test meets the following requirements. Okay, the first, sample the topic from which conclusions will be drawn. And the second is the required performance of the examining lines with the alleged behaviors to be measurement. Okay, the main objective of content validity is to sensibly assess to the skills or knowledge provided in a course in the moment's appropriate way so that the application of both can be represented without a doubt. Okay? An evaluation is said to have two criterion validity. Provide that is obtained results concede equally with those of criterion measure. Okay, for example, if you want to compare certain results obtained from a certain test, there must be a clever indicator to include assessment to recognize validity. Example of the common European framework. Okay, let's continue with the next part. Okay, on the other hand, we have construct validity. Okay, this refers to the fact that the time evidence related to the construct comprise a vast budget. Okay, involve knowledge and skill about the specific area that requires complementary data to make interference in order to be measurement. Okay, to understand it, we can give an example. So when oral production is addressed for the evaluation, aspects such as vocabulary, flexibility, pronunciations are taken into account in such a way that the evaluation can be comprehensive in terms of what oral production covers. The next, consequential validity. Okay, consequential validity stresses that the consequence derive from the primary factors, such as the precision of the criteria measurement, the impact on students' readiness, and other social consequences based on the interpretation and use of the test itself. Now, reliability. Okay, the first thing that we can say about reliability in this simplest definition refers to consistency, often meaning consistency of instrument. Okay, having said that, it is a word referring of the fact that a text say to be reliable. Okay, as long as it is consistent and reliable. In other words, okay, however many times this administered to a student, the result obtained may not different graded extent. Okay, so likewise, the quality of data is straight, but the force a reliable test is considered to be a high standard since it can be consistent, reliable. Okay. Next. Okay. So one the unquestionable issues that can make evaluation unreliable. It is inconsistency, okay, presented by the students. For example, fatigue, anxiety, physical and psychological factors directly affect the truth value of the specific score that divides for its real one. Okay, now let's talk about the radar reliability. That issue becomes more relevant given that issues such as human error or subjectivity. The next is integrated reliability. Oh, sorry, is here. Interreliability. When two or more raters have judged the same data, but the presence personal aspects can be influenced the score obtained in such a way that there could be inconsistency between them. Okay? Intra-rater reliability. In this case, a single rater it is a change of scoring the same data, which means that is a data is scored. Teachers tend to experience fatigue or some personal bias towards a particular student. Now, so to understand this test administration reliability, let's do an example, okay? If the test requires playing an audio file, the lack of adequate acoustic in the classroom will significantly affect the examines. So, as it is will disturb their concentration. So, there may be external factors that influence during the test, and if it is not well to administer, a good result will not be achieved. Okay. So, well, for this last part, okay, I want to add something, and it should be clear that reliability is not a constant property of a test. Rather, it must be addressed according to the different levels of the construct that will be measured in a conclusion, okay, with that of the population for which it is intended. Okay, so that is all for this video, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So thank you for your time.